Hello, Chat All About It listeners and watchers. I'm here in the edit suite, and I just wanted to let you know before this podcast starts that Sam has really let us down, and there are unfortunately some sound issues. So please ignore now and again you might hear 1 second or 2 second of basically no sound from Sam, but I'm sure we can forgive him. Please leave a like and enjoy the pod.
I would say honestly, Maradona defined an era. He defined his era of football. I think so.
He was, as you say, like a god. Like he was a very well loved character, and you can see how genuine that love is from all them people that see him there. Like he is basically a god amongst them, sort of thing.
However, that is just like the biggest praise you can get. Like he will always be remembered for that and for being this absolute icon.
Right?
Yeah.
They have, and I'm sure they still will celebrate that incident. And to be honest with you, I do not blame them, because if it was Gary Lineker, we would all do the same.
Mental,
if it was Gary,
I'm gonna say shame on people who do not respect the art of Diego Maradona football pitch.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Chat's All About It, where today, Samuel, what are we talking about? Chatting about.
Chatting about, yeah, to get that in there. Today we're chatting about, unfortunately it's a sad topic. We're talking about the recent passing of Diego Maradona. As we're recording this.
Some people may say Maradona.
Jack says Maradona. And yeah, I mean, we're not going to laugh. It's a serious topic. As we're recording this, happened yesterday. And when I saw it happen, like I was in complete and utter shock. Like I know he maybe didn't necessarily look after himself in the best way, which we may get onto it at a later point. But yeah, like, I was speechless. And when I sent it to you, I sent it to you in capital letters. Maradona's dead. I was just in shock. Like, what was your initial thought to this happening?
You know what? It was really weird because it was yesterday. I was just looking at icons to put in my FIFA team, and I saw that he was born in 1960, and I thought, wow, so he's 60 years old. Like I thought he would be a lot older. So I was really surprised that he was only 60 years old. So I thought it was really strange to have that thought, and then later in that evening to find out that unfortunately he had passed.
Yeah.
I did know that he was in the hospital. I did know that I heard it on the news like a couple of days ago. So I thought, oh, that doesn't sound good, but maybe he's in quite a good, stable condition. So yeah, I mean, it just does go to show that, 660 to me, I think, is no age to be passing.
It's young.
So,
it's really young.
Yeah, it is young. So, it's obviously sad news. He is, in all seriousness, he was one of the best sort of sportsmen that ever lived. When you look at like the likes of Muhammad Ali and he's up there with the likes of Muhammad Ali.
Like you look at the people. Obviously, Muhammad Ali can't, but you look at the likes of the people who have like reached out to kind of just show their love and that they remember him. Like you got Mike Tyson, who said like I think he tweeted something like, we were good friends. You were the top in your field, and I was the top in my field, and we learnt from each other. And think like you think of boxing and football really have nothing to do with each other, but you've got these two heavyweights of their sport, of their job, really, at their time. I would say honestly, Maradona defined an era. He defined his era of football. I think so.
I think with someone like Maradona, I feel like he went beyond the sport. So he the whole country of Argentina loved him, and he actually did a lot for people that were in sort of poorer conditions. So for the poverty side of Argentina, he really helped out. And I think he also formed a really good sense of community in a lot of small sort of bad, like, financially bad towns in Argentina for people to actually have hope that, they look at someone like him who's come from that situation, and it's very motivating for a whole nation. And I heard today they're having 3 days of mourning his death, so that was really surprising.
Like, yeah, I mean, it just shows, as you said, he came from poverty. Like, he didn't come from a successful background, or money background or anything like that, and people refer to him as God. Like, Argentina, from having like looked into obviously more recently with the passing of Maradona, is a very they're very focused on their religion, like that's a big thing for them, and to call Maradona God is it's a massive statement, and for someone to have come from that beginning to have this amazing title, it only means, like, there was some controversy. Can't speak. Controversy. It's my turn this time. Controversy within his life. However, that is just like the biggest praise you can get. Like, he will always be remembered for that, and for being this absolute icon to these people. And to be, like I said, like I said to you before we started podding, as you like me to say, he for me is, although I unfortunately never had the pleasure to see him play, because I'm a bit of a football nerd, like I know a bit about past footballers and things like that. He for me is in my top 3 footballers of all time, ever. Like,
Yeah.
and I just, like, it's because of things such as, like, I'll get onto my list of things. Like, he is potentially, to some people, the best player of all time. He scored the goal of the century. Like, that's no, like, that's not a small little title you've got. The goal of a century it boggles the mind, mate.
Well, I just have to stop you there. And I just wanted to mention that I actually, to do some small research into this is Sam's idea, this podcast. So, I'm not really, being totally honest with you, that aware of Maradona, other than the Hand of God incident. I'm not really too aware, and I do feel like after this podcast I will sort of watch more documentaries to see, like, how I heard he had, obviously I know what happened when he went to Napoli, but I would be very interested to see what happened before and after then. There's loads of photos coming out and about that he had a game with Spurs, playing for Spurs at some point or something like that. Like, I don't know if that was a joke. No, there's like, it's just interesting to see. I did watch a few episodes today of Maradona in Mexico, which is on Netflix, and that's about him literally 2 years ago, or it might have been a year ago now, becoming a manager or being a manager of a low league Mexican team. And it was really interesting to see that how everyone warmed to him. And even in Mexico, he was, as you say, like a god. Like, he was a very well-loved character. And you can see how genuine that love is from all them people that see him there. Like, he is basically a god amongst them, sort of thing. And it was really nice to actually just see them people so happy to see him, and see him walk in a room and be so happy to see him. I know that, I mean, it was very apparent in the 2018 World Cup that he was sort of going across the line, really, with like all of his sort of, I don't know if you want to call it partying, or it was obviously to excess of whatever it was. I'm not going to talk ill of him at all. I'm just going to say that at that time I felt actually a bit of sympathy for him, because I didn't think that really suited him going. I mean, he got so emotional with football, and I guess that showed you a glimpse of what maybe he was going through in terms of like his addiction. Maybe when you think about it, when you lose that adrenaline of not playing football, maybe that's what he was using to sort of feel that buzz again.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think you probably are. You head there. Like I think that you've got to bear in mind this is someone who made their professional football debut at the age of 15, was chucked into the limelight as this, this unbelievable prospect. By the age of 22, was the best player in the world, and maybe he didn't have that opportunity to live. I know that sounds a bit mental, but it was Diego Maradona, the superstar footballer, not Diego Maradona, the man. If you know what I mean. Like no one knew anything about him, and maybe that is why he went to those lengths to excite himself. And I think like going back to what you said of the program of him in Mexico, like I haven't watched that, and that's probably something that I will go and watch. Interestingly, like when I said, and you agreed with that program, that he was seen as a god. When he went to Napoli were nobody. Like he went to Napoli from Barcelona, which by the way, can I just say, not only did he break the transfer fee record for a player, he broke his own record. So he was the most expensive player twice, which I think is just unbelievable. So when he went to Barcelona and then went to Napoli, he was continuously the most expensive player. He went to Napoli and they call him, like I knew this before, but they kept on saying it today and yesterday, obviously, that he is the son of Napoli. You got to think, they said like apart as well as being a god in Argentina, he's the son of Argentina. Like to have somewhere that he was only there for like 2 or 3 years, and to be like the son of somewhere. Like they've got pictures and paintings of him in Napoli. You see people like kissing the walls that he's on, and it's just like for one person to have that sort of effect on a group of people, and I think it is honestly it's a global loss, and I'm not saying that as of what he was doing as a person right now. It's a sort of thing where you look at people with Pele, right? People compare Maradona and Pele, and it's a sort of thing where you think those are two living legends. You can't say that now.
I had this conversation with my dad because obviously he's in the generation of the 1986 World Cup, and he was telling me exactly his emotions, and he said that it was so, he was furious at the time when it was so obviously a handball just from watching it on the telly.
Yeah.
And just from watching it on the telly and the referee not seeing it, he always feels like to this day the referee had a good feeling it was a handball, but he didn't want to give it. And he said what actually made it worse is that after he scored that handball goal, he scored one of the most amazing goals he's ever seen. And he was like, and he said actually a lot of people sort of admired that, but at the time it actually made me more angry that basically he cheated and then he proved that he didn't need to cheat.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
It's almost like you can see like the angel and devil. You see the devil side with the handball, and then the angel side of this just unbelievable specimen, like just unbelievable footballer doing just unbelievable things. Like took it past 5 people, then went round the goalkeeper and just slotted it home. And I'm just like, yeah, it's a good goal. It's just unbelievable. It was just, yeah. I think as well, like ex-professionals can't speak highly enough of him. And I think that what you've got to realise is Maradona is probably out in our generation now, so many current strikers or any footballer probably looked up to him. So you have to imagine what it's done for them. Like their idol, the person that they grew up watching football, maybe it's possibly slightly past that point, but they probably saw Maradona playing football. I want to be like Maradona, and to them, their icon is now no longer with us, and it is sad. And I think obviously around the world that football that were played last night, and I'm sure tonight, and probably over the weekend as well, they have a minute of silence, which is absolutely the right thing to do. I do have a question for you. It is slightly controversial, and as I said, I don't want to speak ill of him, but going to what your dad said of he was so angry when that goal was scored, and even though he scored this amazing goal, he was still angry. I see Maradona as a legend, and I think, as I said, he's in my top 3 footballers of all time. Do you think that he will be remembered as a legend or as a cheat? Because remember, he has done other things with regards to football. I know that's not I don't want to speak ill of him. But
I think what you need to bear in mind is that the hand of God incident, right? Just that incident alone, not them actually winning the game, the actual incident is celebrated, right?
yeah,
They have, and I'm sure they still will celebrate that incident. And to be honest with you, I do not blame them, because if it was Gary Lineker, we would all do the same.
God,
If
mental,
it was
mate.
Gary Lineker doing the handball goal, we would all. I don't know about the hand of God. I don't know if we call him hand of God, but we would have said yes. We will celebrate this goal, whatever you call him.
We'd be like,
And
it's a piece of genius. That's what we would say.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we would celebrate that. So to be honest with you, I don't blame it. I mean, obviously, it is a bit hard to listen to when you did hear Maradona in like previous interviews say like, "Oh, I would happily do it all over again."
Yeah,
And he would adamantly say it's part of the game. You have to do that sometimes, and it's just like you're everything you know about football. You're just going mental because you're like that's just not on. Like you're now telling other people to cheat, but at the same time, if you switched the chairs around, you would think, yeah, well, he's the best.
yeah, no, exactly.
You would, wouldn't you?
And it's
You would.
it's interesting that you actually mentioned Gary Lineker, because there was a tweet that he put out, because he was he playing in that game, Gary Lineker, or was it before his time?
I think that would have been around
Yeah,
his time,
so
wouldn't it? 86.
I should probably know. Yeah, it probably was. Yeah, to be fair, yeah, that's silly of me to ask that. I should know that. He first of all said that it was the sort of thing where he struggled to not stand up and clap at that goal because it's sort of frowned upon. But also the tweet that he put out, I thought was very, very clever in the way that it was written. It was something along the lines of, we've lost a legend of the game, a master, in his field, and he truly is now in the hands of God. And I thought that was so well written because he used something that he was famous for in a dedication to him. And, it did happen against England, and fair enough, we have to just understand that. But I think it's such a nice tribute.
If you are listening, and I advise you to do this as well, Sam, if you haven't, if you are listening and you genuinely would like to know maybe a bit more about Diego Maradona,
For God's sake.
go on YouTube and Gary Lineker did a BBC show with Diego Maradona. He went all the way to Argentina to meet him. He goes in his house, he has loads of interviews, and he even takes Gary Lineker to a football game. And it's just fascinating that Gary Lineker, the man that I guess would have hated him initially with that whole thing, has sort of really comes to like just absolutely love him. And it also sort of touches what I was on before. He lived and breathed football.
His life.
So when he went to these football games, you can see how losing and winning, how them emotions are. Like, losing is just the worst for him, and winning is just top. It's just top, like peak.
Do you think perhaps that's maybe why he, like, if he did lose a football game, when we spoke about obviously his drug addiction and alcohol abuse and things like that, do you think that's maybe he got into that because he couldn't deal with losing?
Maybe. I mean, there is an interview in this Netflix one I watched today when he's a manager, and they ask him what is the biggest sort of regret that you have in life, and he was like, my drug addiction. My drug addiction is my biggest regret I have in my life, because at one point it totally ruled me. It totally owned me. And then there was another interesting question. They were like, what is something like what is anything bad about being Diego Maradona? He was like, the people. He said, I'm always surrounded by people, and sometimes I feel like I can be totally surrounded but feel totally alone.
Okay.
So that is also, I thought, another sort of take of what maybe his personal life was. Maybe he constantly kept telling himself, but everyone loves me, but I don't feel like everyone loves me, but I feel alone, That's a really weird feeling.
What I was going to say is everyone loves me, but these people don't know who I am. Basically, like do you know what I mean? They love me as a footballer. It's like I said before. They don't. Yeah. Do they love me? Do they love a footballer? Or do they love Diego? Basically, and it's the sort of thing that, you know what? Like, anyone can struggle with drug addiction or alcohol abuse or anything like that. But I think because he was, as I said, like a master of the game, it was so much more that was documented so much more because of who he was. And there was a point where, like, he retired from international football and then came back for a World Cup, like the next World Cup, and he like was a bit of a shadow of himself in terms of physically. Like, he'd put on a bit of weight and maybe didn't feel like himself. So he used performance enhancing drugs to shed the weight and just to, you know, feel unbelievable. And do you remember there's that celebration of him going towards the camera and, like, I mean, the only way I can say, he just looks mental. Like, you can just see in his face, like, he just looks like there's something not right. Immediately after that, he got banned. And it's the thing where, like I said, I see Maradona as a legend, regardless of against England. He's done the hand of God. He's done, you know, addiction or, you know, used performance enhancing drugs or anything like that. He is a legend, and in my opinion, will always be a legend. I think some people may not think that and may think that, do you know what? Maradona was very good at football, but he did cheat that one. Well, I say that one time. He did cheat a couple of times, and he was an iconic. But look at people like George Best. George Best is, you know, across the world known as this iconic player. He had an alcohol problem. I'm sure there's loads of footballers that have had issues, and I think that it. You know, I'm gonna say shame on people who do not respect the art of Diego Maradona football pitch. Like I even said to you, like, and you said that it's a bit much, Sam, but I got a bit emotional when I, like, heard that he passed away, and I just thought, because it's someone who was so good at football, and you could see, like, probably even to, like, his last day, loved football, loved everything about it. I, in a way, can kind of resonate with that, because I love football. Like, football is such a big part of my life, and I just feel like just being this unbelievable footballer and someone who just brought joy to everyone. Maybe not England fans in that time, but joy to everyone within a period of time on a football pitch.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like you
poured,
poured your heart out.
Yeah, that was.
I feel like your heart must be empty, mate. You've just poured it all out.
You know, it is sad. Like, I'm not, you know. And,
yeah, well, I guess you're sad about it. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sad about it, but I'll take an interest in the in the sports psychology side of him, and also the impact that he put on a large group of people in the worldwide. You know, it's not just Argentina. I do genuinely feel that he inspired and motivated a lot of people around the world. Mm-hmm. And sort of, like, he's one of them people that makes you feel that anything is achievable, and that is only positive.
Definitely.
You know, and I think that will always be celebrated. You know, I only want, you know, like, a positive sort of feeling to come out of this discussion, this chat. Yeah. And I feel like that is exactly what's happened. The only reason we mention maybe his addictions is because that is part of the sports psychology. I honestly feel like that's what happens with some people that don't have the buzz anymore, don't have the buzz of putting on a full kit and walking out on that pitch and scoring a goal, like, and having millions, thousands of people cheering your name and going mental like that. That must be, like, mental. Like, even, I know this sounds absolutely pathetic, Sam, and you're gonna laugh and probably stop the podcast right now, but I even when I did the Emirates tour and walked down the tunnel and stood on the side of the pitch, and I visualised that because I've seen, obviously, the stadium, like, full capacity, like, I just don't know how someone, like, say, for example, if it was you or me, I honestly don't think we could handle it, because it's just like it's such a huge amount of atmosphere, isn't it? It's like you're under a microscope with 60,000 people staring at you, and it's like,
And they're gonna see your
insane.
every single move. And if you do something wrong, like I said in the previous pod, if you do something wrong, they're gonna let you know about it. So there's that constant pressure. And I feel, following on from your point with regards to, you know, we, I think the reason why we have to chat about, as you're going to tell me if I'm not saying that, the reason we have to chat about the, maybe the not so positive moments of in his life is because, you know, we're not ignorant to the fact that he had difficulties. Like there was difficulties within his life, and I feel like it would be wrong of us to not mention that. But this podcast is in effect celebrating his life. I'd say like is a celebration of what the moments he gave people, the moment and even like in Napoli they're naming the stadium after him. Like that's, I mean, what more could you want?
But I think actually it's quite, in a way, it is a weird thing to say, but in a way, him going through them struggles actually made people love him even more, because it showed that he is a human being. He does have issues, and he, for a lot of the time, he did push through, and he did sort of show what he can achieve. And it's something which you can only celebrate, really, can't you?
No, absolutely, and I would say, like, obviously I don't think Diego Maradona's family watches the podcast, right? I'm pretty sure they don't, but if they do, obviously our thoughts are with you from the Chat About It podcast, and this is just us being, like I said, celebrating a legend's life and being respectful to him.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, I'm going to say thank you for listening or watching. Please leave a like, comment, and if you're not subscribed,
What are you doing?
you're basically just mental.
What's going on?
So please subscribe. Thank you again. I've been Jack. Be lucky.
And I'm Sam, and I'll see you when you're older.
Buenos dias.